All right. Hello, everyone. Charles Banfield here with another Karate Canucks conversation. And today I'm extremely pleased to be joined by Sensei Louise Provencher. Sensei Provencher is currently a 6th degree black belt in karate with over 40 years of experience practicing, teaching, and competing in Chito-Ryu, Yoshukai and Yoshukan Karate, and also in boxing. High-level fighter, Sensei Provencher is a former world Chito-Ryu Soke Cup Kumite champion and a Canadian amateur boxing champion in the 48 kilo weight class, earning both of those titles in 1995. In 2003, she also became the Karate Canada National Masters Karate champion, winning gold in both the Kata and Kumite divisions. And throughout the 2000s, Sensei Provencher began to focus her efforts on teaching and coaching karate and boxing, and has been a coach for both the Quebec and the Canadian national karate and boxing teams for many years. I think you mentioned earlier, karate coach for about 18 years or so at the national level. In 2003, I became the first woman in Quebec to launch a boxing school, which teaches both boxing and karate and is still operating today. And she's also the current technical director with Yoshukan Karate-Do Canada. And over the years, Sensei Provencher has played a significant role in the development of Canadian amateur combat sports and has held numerous board positions with a variety of coaching development certifications. And finally, in 2019, she was inducted into the Canadian Karate Association Hall of Fame, which is an honor she shared with her longtime instructor, Sensei Earl Robertson. So with that said, welcome, Sensei Provencher. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure, my pleasure. So you've seen some previous interviews that I've done on this podcast, and they all typically start roughly the same. So why don't we begin with some general background information about you, such as where are you from and what prompted you to start your martial arts journey?
Okay. I was born in LaSalle, near Montreal, in Montreal. My whole family, my entire family, my grandfathers come from Victoriaville, where we did the hay and we had farms and so forth. And I switched from French to English school just before Bill 101. And ended up going to English school. And at the time, when I was 16 years old, I met this young man who was my boyfriend at the time, and had a punching bag in his basement. So I lived in Verdun. I grew up in Verdun, and I still live nearby. Been here all my life. And so this boyfriend introduced me to punching a bag in his basement when I was 16 years old. And one day I started looking around, and I went to Kung Fu school. So needless to say, the boyfriend left, but karate combat stayed in my life forever after. I started looking for Kung Fu, karate, whatever. And so I practiced a little bit of Kung Fu for a few months, for a year, and then ended up knocking at Don Lorenzetti's martial arts school in Verdun in 1980. So the beginning was just an interest in hitting a bag, so it all started there. Do you want to know more about my how it evolved with Don Lorenzetti? So Don Lorenzetti was from Verdun, was my first sensei.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with him for almost 8 years. And I was a brown belt for 4 years. And at the time, like many other schools, there were no other women. And 40 years ago, there was no science to sport either. So when we trained, it was always like, okay, we're doing this, bunkai's, the technique. But when it came to fighting, it was always like fight. So Needless to say, I got beat up quite a lot. And apparently I had a bad attitude. So that was my nickname when I joined the Earl Robertson School. That became my nickname, Bad Attitude Provencher, by the way. Why? Because I would get beat up and then I would get mad and we'd wear equipment and I'd go to the sideline and just throw my gloves and throw my foot gear. And then one time, and I would go up to my teacher and say, well, I've been a brown belt for 4 years. Am I ever going to get my black belt? And it didn't happen. It wasn't happening. And he kicked me out. So he kicked me out of his school. I was out for about 5 months and I went home crying. And after 5 months, I kept going. Well, I didn't go back. I think it was my mother who went to his school and asked to take me back because Don was actually like a father figure to me. My dad left when I was very young and also passed away when I was 16 when I started school. When I started karate. By the way, my mother did not approve that I do karate. I paid for my own karate because she was a school teacher. She didn't believe in fighting. So if you ask me why many women don't do karate, that's partly because of the mothers behind as well. Some parents will tell the women to go ahead and we need to learn self-defense and we need to go out there and do it. But there's other parents that will say, well, that was my mother's way of thinking. Her philosophy was, you're not going out there to get hit. I'm anti-violence. And by the way, in Verdun, when I grew up, there was a lot of fighting between the French and the English. When I say I went over, and this is something I mentioned to you just before, all this racism, there's a lot of going on right now. And for myself, I don't understand it. A person is a person, your color, your religion, we are allowed to our opinion. We are allowed to have our own values. I don't believe in imposing it on others. I believe in protecting my language because I'm a francophone. I'm talking to you in English. I am very, very happy to be speaking English today. And I think more people need to open up to the world. So now I'm talking about diversity instead of my background here. But it is part of my background. There was a lot of fighting between the French and the English when I grew up in Pointe St. Charles and in Verdun. I ended up going over to the English side and I was so scared. They just wanted to beat me up every day, but I was very, very athletic. And I remember being in grade 6. I moved from grade 6 and redid grade 6 again on the English side. And I was very athletic, like I said. So when I went to sports, if you were in front of me and I had a ball in my hand, like a basketball, you'd better get out of my way or catch it because you'd get it really fast. Like hockey, we used to play hockey kazam. Like you move your feet from my space because you're getting hit with the stick. I was a dirty player. Dirty in the sense that I was scared. I was scared because people were picking on me because I was French. French pea soup, French fry, French frog. And needless to say, when I was in high school, I didn't really care. I actually went on stage at the variety show and was a Kermit. I imitated Kermit. I dressed up in a green suit, walked out with the guitar. So it was really funny. So all this to say, I'm very, very, very happy to be speaking English, and people should be speaking as many languages as they can. So joined karate in Verdun with Don Lorenzetti. I have a bad attitude. I threw my stuff. He kicked me out. I went home crying for 5 months. I waited. I went back. He took me back. So I had been with him like for 5 years at the time, or 6 years, because I was with him 8 years. I went back and I was good for 2 years. Did my karate, my waza, my katas. When it went to fighting, I got beat up. And then one day I got mad and I threw my stuff and my threw went flying to the light again. And told me I was not a good role model and kicked me out. And this time I wasn't going back. I was kicked out for good. And I saw an ad in the newspaper, The Messenger in Verdun, and it was Chito-Ryu demonstration at the YMCA and NDG. the YMCA and NDG is one of the eldest clubs in Canada, by the way, because it's like 55, 56 years old now. It was opened by Mike Litwin, Earl, and 1968. So I saw this ad and I said, okay, let me try and see if I can join this club, because I really, really enjoyed karate. I mean, this is, to me, so I went to see this demo being done. And during class, this was so funny. There was Jim and Dave. Dave is sitting with us. I don't know this at the time. I don't know Dave. I don't know Jim. This is a demonstration. And Earl is saying, we're doing this, we're doing that. And Dave gets up. They're doing Goshinjitsu, like self-defense and stuff. And Dave, big black man, gets up and says, yeah, your techniques wouldn't work, I'm sure of that. And then Jim and Dave started like pushing, grabbing each other. And it was a whole setup. Like, we thought there was a fight going on, but this was part of the presentation. Needless to say, this is how I met Cancho Robertson and the group of Chito-Ryu students at the time at the school in NDG. I remember sitting down after this presentation with Earl and saying, I've been doing karate for quite a few. He knew, this is a small community. So everybody knew each other. Actually, Earl had been teaching his son, Mark, whom I had, trained with, I was a yellow belt, and I did a spinning back kick and got into him. I got such a beating after that. It was incredible. But that's life. And so Earl took me under his wing, and I've never left him since 1988, 1989. Became a black belt under his supervision, with under his guidance with Higashi Sensei. So first dan in 1989 with Sensei Higashi. Yeah.
1989, yeah. So I'm curious, so you were doing karate when you first started with Sensei Lorenzetti. Was it Shotokan? Was it Chito-Ryu? What was the style of karate doing then?
Good question. Actually, it was Chito-Ryu.
It was Chito-Ryu.
It was Chito-Ryu with the long stances. At the time, it was a Chito-Ryu, but that looked more like when Tsuroka and Higashi came to Canada and had the long stances. So I went from long to short to narrow to, and today it's adapted to my body. That's one of the philosophies. I met O-Sensei Chitose when he was still alive. Actually, 1980 was he here, and I was a white belt, and that's why I said Dina. Because I'm trying to find that picture because when he came down, we took a picture at the end of the training, and he called me over and made me sit beside him. So I'm looking for that picture, and I know Dina is going to find it for me. So
1982, I think it was the last time he was in Canada. It was 1982, because he passed away in 84.
Well, I have a picture of that one, and I'm in the back. I think I didn't take many pictures at the time. I didn't know I was going to do, karate for all of my life. And I'm not, I enjoyed taking pictures, but at the time it was, you got to go and put it in, get it developed, blah, blah, blah. So, I didn't know it was going to be a big thing. For me, if I could find that picture, it would mean a lot, because I met the man. I trained with the man. So when I hear stories, and one of the comments, or one of the things that I remember from people, even Peter Giffen, Sensei Giffen, saying that, O-Sensei was an open-minded type of person. I got to witness that, and I get to be, this is what I'm told today. If you're fifth dan, you should be able to own your karate, not to say that I'm changing it, because I have no desire to change what is working. What I do want to do is adapt it for my body, for as a woman, as a small woman, who doesn't weigh too much, how do I, especially the bunkais. Bunkais are harder than kumite. I mean, kumite, if it's controlled kumite, let's be honest here. When it's bunkais are the most difficult part of karate, is having that control. That's what policemen need to have, is take those people and control them without hurting them.
Yeah, it's very personal, the bunkai applications and so on, because what works for one will not necessarily work for another, and depending on who you're working with at the same, so very, very interesting. I didn't realize that you had met Sensei Chitose, so that's interesting. That's very interesting. And I had interviewed Sensei Giffen in a previous iteration of this podcast, and he was sharing some pretty interesting, fun stories that he had with his time that he spent over, living with him in Japan and training there.
I trained, Sensei Giffen brought me to Inamoto's school in Japan. And something you didn't say at the beginning was Iaido. I really, really enjoyed doing Iaido. 1995, before the Soke Cup and all that, I was training in Iaido with Okumura here in Montreal. This man was a small Japanese man who did judo and Iaido. And I remember saying to Sensei Robertson, I said, this man, he loves me, but he barks at me. Like when he gave me instructions, he just it was so hard on me. And I really love Iaido. Actually, from when I presented my 5th Dan today in Kobudo, I train under Domitrich Sensei, who is a great model. I love her. Just so I did that, and I actually not relived, but rekindled with my Iaido before doing my 5th Dan. That was a presentation I wanted to do to as a gift when I did my 5th Dan to Dimitrich. And Sensei Giffen, what I was saying was, he brought me to Inamoto Sensei's dojo in 1995, the year of the Soke Cup, because I went to Japan in 1994, 1995, and I went back in 2013 with 28 people and visited. And my mom, it was her last trip. It was fantastic, but fantastic. Yeah.
So you've been to Kumamoto as well, then, obviously.
Yes. I trained in the dojo. In 1994, the year before the Soke Cup, we were 3 women: Rebecca Curry, myself, and Kancho's wife, Betty Gormley, whom the 3 of us, it was the trip of our life in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like you become an accidental karateka, because, you started punching your I guess then boyfriend's punching bag in his basement, and you didn't, like you said, you didn't take many pictures at the beginning because you didn't really think you were going to be doing it for the rest of your life. But actually,
my goal was to reach Nidan. I want to reach 2nd Dan. So for me to be where I am today, it's no longer about dance. It's nice. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful, I'm privileged to have that recognition. And just this week, I was training with my students, and, you have 1st Dan, 2nd Dan, 3rd Dan, and I got my seniors, and, my teacher asked me to do a kata. And I was the last one to perform, obviously, because we all went in rank. And I turned around because we were 2 people in the dojo, one of my other students who's going for his 4th Dan. And I said, okay, I can see my rank. I'm happy. I'm happy today. So.
You get called out last, because it's the highest rank, yeah.
No, it was not the called out. I can say technically, my performance, I'm still, comme on dit en français, ça coche, okay? For my age, okay, we'll talk about the age thing, but because you can't perform like when you're 20 or you're 30. I took so many beatings today. I'm just gonna go home and cry. Like, don't touch me, don't hit me. I probably had concussions, from. In karate, I remember one time I remember fighting this Russian guy. Oh, he was so good. This is the only person I saw kick my Sensei Robertson's butt. And he said, okay, we're done. Good enough. He was a really, really, really good karateka competition-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, we used to train on tiles. I mean, we didn't even have tatami back then, you know. We trained on cement. We trained on, so at the YMCA, which was a kids' room with tiles, with pictures on the, you know, little hippopotamus on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're training. I usually train like for 2 hours, and we, you know, spar before class, spar at the end of the class. That's how I broke my nose too, because I trained too much and didn't pay attention. But anyways, I got swept both legs instead of just one, and landed right on my coccyx. I remember sitting there crying for like 20 minutes. And and a few years after that, I remember my neck started getting sore. And I remember the physiotherapist saying, you probably had too many shocks.
Yeah.
Whiplashes from getting punched. Boxing certainly didn't help. But today, when we talk about concussions, we're careful. Before, we didn't know. That's another area when we, you know, there's sports has evolved. Every sport has evolved, and we didn't know about concussions before. Now we know.
Yeah.
And so just the fact I stopped boxing at the time. I said, okay, I got to stop getting hit in the head because of the whiplash, because I got numb in my thumb, my whole arm. I thought something really wrong. My nerve was pinched in the back, and the doctor said, stop fighting. So I stopped boxing, the fighting in boxing. And to this day, when I like doing bag work. And if I punch the bag a little too much or too hard, because it vibrates, it's just like doing makiwara. I used to do makiwara. And now I get headaches if I punch too hard because of the vibrations.
Vibration, yeah.
Yeah.
So you brought up boxing there, and it's one of the things I wanted to ask you about as well is how, I guess, how your boxing training, or how you got into it and stayed. Well, you told a little bit of that story about how you got into boxing, but I mean,
no, I didn't tell you my story.
No, okay, so that was your first introduction, was hitting the downs. Okay, so given that, yeah, so I'd be interested in learning how you found yourself participating and competing in boxing, and how, you know, whether the boxing and the karate kind of complemented each other, and if so, how?
Yeah. This is a great story. 1994, I was very much involved in karate, and actually the federation, we went to the Montreal Stadium, the Olympic Stadium, and there was a sports and open doors salon event. And I was representing the Karate Association. I had a booth, and I had a space where I did demos, and I asked people to come and try and do punching and kicking. And next to my booth was boxing. So this is November 1994, and I had the scheduled 2-hour slots, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, 8 to 10. Well, needless to say, Saturday, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., there was nobody left in the place. And next to me, I had seen the guys get on, because there was a ring that was set up. We had tatami, we had everything. So the man who was there, who I still have conversations with, is Bernard Barré. He's the right-hand man of Yvon Michel, who is very well known in Quebec for boxing. He's the one who brought boxing, our Quebecers, on. He put boxing on the map here in Quebec, and but for professionals. So the amateur boxing, Bernard Barré is there, and I didn't know him at the time. I just asked. I saw the boys doing the mitts, doing the bag, and because there was no one left, I said, "Oh, can I come in and hit the bag?" So I put on some gloves and I started hitting the bag, and so that was that. I said, "Oh, thanks, bye, see you." And I didn't know Bernard at the time, and crossed Bernard's path in March 1995. Said, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm first in Quebec. I'm preparing for the Soke Cup, for, Chito-Ryu Soke Cup, full contact fighting. Things are great. And then he said, how much do you weigh? I said, you don't ask that to a woman. Huh? Don't ask that. And he said, it's our first women's Canadian boxing championship. And I looked at him and he said, it's nothing like professional boxing. He said, look, you're competing in karate, and now you're going. He says, you come in, you come in, you win a gold and you stop. And as soon as he said gold medal, it was like reeling that fish rod carrot, brought in the carrot. So, so I remember going in, and it was Eric Lucas. He's a very well known in Quebec. So I went in the gym, very first night. Jannick Véronneau was my biggest rival, my friend to today. She's still my friend. My coach hit 100 years old 2 years ago. I just realized that, like, when he was in his 90s, I was like in my 30s. I was too old. Even Bernard said, we found you like you're 10 years too old. But I went in, and I remember first night I fought with Jannick, and I remember doing a spinning elbow, and you can't do that in boxing. And like I said, I remember fighting boys that were 15 years old, and they were stronger than me. I was, 110 pounds. I used to fight at 106 pounds. Anyways, so I went in. I went in the first night, something you're not supposed to do. I sparred, and I got ready for this fight. 2 weeks later, I think I had my first fight, but there was no one in my division because, there were no women. First Canadian Championship, 1995, there were 30 women. And I remember they nicknamed me. I won that tournament, but I had one fight. They nicknamed me RoboCop. My coach, who was 78 at the time, and I didn't realize that, strong as an ox, A.B. Pervin. He said, Louise, you just go in there and you do a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. So jab, direct, kizami, gyaku. And the girl had no time to react. All she did was go back 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. And anyways, at the second round, it was over. Technically, she couldn't hit me. So they nicknamed me like the Energizer Bunny that just goes 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. And then I was supposed to quit boxing, and I never did. I fell in love with the physical preparation, I didn't know if I was able. I knew I could hit, but I didn't know if I could get hit. And that was the best preparation I could have for the Soke Cup, because I remember preparing for the 1995 Cup. I would put the bogu, and the bogu was a steel at the time, the steel head. I would wear the chest protector, and I would go jogging at the NDGY in the back with Rebecca. People must have thought I was a nutcase. But all that to say, like, the karate and the boxing really worked hand in hand for the preparation. After that, I was no longer supposed to continue boxing. I just was supposed to go and win this tournament. But I really, really like punching the bag. Actually, I find the karate competition harder than the boxing because you have to pull your punch back. If you're a solid person, I mean, you can hit and hit and hit, and in comparison, I mean, I remember talking with Kancho, and Kancho would say, don't be scared of the small person who's fast. Be scared of that small person who's fast but is really strong, or that person, that big person who's fast and can handle a person who can handle the punches back and don't move. Be scared of those people. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so I really, really enjoyed the boxing, and I never stopped. I opened my school. I coached the women's boxing team for 3 years. They took me as an assistant coach. I remember it was the year I won the Masters Gold in Kumite in 2003, because there were 8 people at the table to interview me because I wanted to be the head coach, but they took me. I didn't have any experience. I was just moving into coaching. I mean, I had been coaching a few years for karate, but not for boxing. And I can say that in the end, when I was doing too much, like competing, like 2 weeks apart, boxing and karate, it was not good, because you need a certain time to peak and the distance. I remember doing my very first boxing match. My knee went up in the air 2 times to kick, and I heard the crowd, because you're not supposed to do that, of course. But and I always thought my hands were faster, were better. I think I got better with time with my legs as well. But how did boxing improve my karate? Is I'm a small person. I need to move side to side. Boxing made me work my pivoting. Actually, Cancho Robertson, I remember when I used to train with him, every Sunday morning, this is like, never asked me a penny, took me under his wing. Every Sunday morning, footwork for almost an hour, at least half an hour, every Sunday morning. And I owe him my success to that, because I used to fight guys and they couldn't even touch me, because I was in, I was out, I was in, I was out, I was in, I was out, I was never there. And when I went to boxing, I would, when I went to the Soke Cup, and my mentality was, go get that friggin' peanut and get the hell in and out, in and out. And so working the side, and with my students are known, well, not right now, but those that made it to, because at one time I'm very, very proud to say there were 5 students that were on the national team, and, seniors, and one was, he was on the list to go to the Olympics 3 years ago, just retired just before this whole thing happened. And I, like I was saying before, I had 5 on the national team, 2 opened their own schools, and all of them are still teaching, either coaching at the provincial or the national level. Guy, Patrice and Marianne are teaching on Zoom with me all the time now for my elites. We have teaching almost every day except Sunday. Like I said, 2 of them opened their own school. They our goal as teachers is supposed to be to elevate those that come towards us. And I think I did a great job with that. And I did not have children, but I have some students that are still with me, and I consider them like my children. They started when they were 6, 8, 10 years old. They're 31 years old today. They're still, hi, how are you? We do a Zoom. They don't train as much as I wish they did, but some of them have children now, and so that's that. So the karate and the boxing, there's pros and cons. When I was competing very closely one to the other, it was not good, because 1, my head was not like focused. 2, my distance might have been off. But in the long run, this has really, really made me a better fighter, understanding left and right, and this person is more inclined to do that, so go this way. And every time I had a chance, and I'm not the type of person who, I like to give, but I am also still a learner. And throughout my life, no matter what it is, this is my, this is going to be how I am. Today we're doing something, but tomorrow it may change, because we're evolving with the science. So my belief that was there 30 years ago, and we talked about, I remember, 20, 30 years ago, distance was such an important thing. I'm not saying that it's not important. What I'm saying is today in the fighting, the sensitivity and the connection with the others, to me, is more important than knowing my distance, because at this point, I should know my distance. we say this often, if I'm in the same room as Mike Tyson, if I'm really far from him, he won't catch me and I'm just going to run. But in terms of being close and it's feeling that other one, do you feel that they're very connected? Are they afraid? You can see it in the eyes, in the body posture. Are they a defensive person? Anyways, so I'm just going on now, but boxing and karate have I've intertwined them, and as you mentioned my video, kizami is a jab. I mean, there's a jab, a kizami can be done up, down, double, to security wise, offensively.
One of the things on the video that you'd mentioned, which was like an instructional thing for those who are listening, that was done on a Chito-Ryu instructors forum a while ago. One of the things, there's two things that stood out for me on that. One was how you indicated that from your perspective, the heito, like the ridge hand, is like a hook, and which I never thought of that before, probably because the way that we in Chito-Ryu do it is not like a looping. It's more of a straight. But it's interesting that because the contact is on the side. The other thing was the incorporation of skipping, jumping rope into the training, and how much that improves hand-eye coordination and timing, and it's a really good method of conditioning. Your entire body. Your breathing, your legs, your hands, like you said, your hand-eye. Do you feel that your karate training has been influenced by your boxing training to any great extent, or are there just a couple of things that you've picked up that you've incorporated from one into the other?
My karate has definitely been influenced big time. I mean, and even it's reflected in Cancho's thinking, Cancho Robertson's thinking. Now we're doing a lot of, I don't know if he's mentioned that in your interview, but when fights happen on the street, they're not going to punch this way. It's going to go. I remember doing my a boxing match, and I fought a girl who had been doing kickboxing for 15 years. Oh, by the way, I did the first professional fight here as well in Quebec. We were two Quebecers. We did a professional fight in boxing. I wanted to try it out.
Okay.
And so, if something, and we say that 99% of the time we'll end up on the ground. So the grappling, the jiu-jitsu is really important. But if you're going to hit, I mean, karate, for me, I'm not going to grapple anyone. I'm so small. My thinking is first of all, don't be there. Go home. Don't look for trouble. But if trouble is there, usually the punching will come around. So we're learning, actually, the seniors right now, we're doing a lot of exercises where we're fighting against circular attacks versus the linear attacks. So this is something that I've really taken from my boxing, and I'll let you in on a scenario that happened. Cancho Robertson was always very proud of the fighter I was, and so proud that I would drive up from Montreal to Toronto to train with him for the weekend or whatnot. And when I'd arrive, he'd always make me fight like a whole bunch of students, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I remember one time, I don't know if it was the beginning or the end of the camp, and I fought 5 guys, one after the other. And the last guy threw was it a punch or a kick? It was a kick. He threw a round kick at my head, and all I did was duck. And so to me, that was a bobbing movement from boxing, and went back. And at the time, 15, 20 years ago, it was, Louise, now you go to the knees, So I remember slipping under and going to the knee, but without hurting the person, but just showing I got your knee now with my foot, and turning white as a ghost, and seeing Kancho turning all white, because if he would have hit me in the head, I was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was one of the last times he made me fight with everyone like that, because, you know, you drive 7 hours, you go to Toronto, and then, no, I don't really feel like it, but you still have to do it. That's that. Yeah.
Yeah. So your boxing instincts probably saved you there, you know, because most karate is it's very, you know, you maintain your upright position, right? When you're sparring in that. But had you done that and tried to block it with a high block or something, you probably would have injured your arm and still gotten hit in the head, right? But
I'll tell you another good story. Germain Bisson, he should be out here and talking as well. I'd really like to see him here. I'm going to challenge him. Anyway, so Germain, come over here, viens ici, puis fais une vidéo. I go to Germain's club. We're training on a Friday night. We're a few competitors. I'm driving, and I'm the type of person, as soon as you make a move, you feint at me, I react. I'm a big time react to everything. And I remember him fainting at me, so I went in. I went the opposite way, and of course that was his thing. That's what he wanted me to do, and he put me with such a good kick that I went to sit down, and I cried the rest of the class. I was not feeling good that day, but I had a good training session. I really enjoyed the training with Germain. We did a lot of. He was a team coach, head coach for many years, and had great athletes. We have. I trained at his camps when I was Chito-Ryu. Nicole Poirier, who's now out in the States, who was in BC for many years. So you want another one who's been there for many years is Nicole Poirier. She was, and I think she's still teaching.
so you've been involved in the martial arts for about 40 years, thereabouts. What has kept you involved over the years? Why do you think you've stuck with it for this amount of time?
What is the slogan or the mission of karate? To be a better person, to have a better character. So for me, this is going to be now. I don't think I will ever stop. I mean, I've wanted to quit many times. When you go home battered, bruised up, and you say, why am I doing this? But with time, now we do things with a purpose. And when I do something with my students today, I say, you know, if you're doing something, try and understand what you're doing. And, you know, at the beginning, when we do karate at the beginning, we just do moves and, you know, punching, kicking. But in the end, I mean, grabbing, pulling, we have to understand what we're doing. And I believe I will never stop, because there's so many different interpretations of doing something. It's just like reading a book, and I have a message, you have your message. And karate to me is, I'm going to do it for me, and you can tell me what your opinion is about something, but here's my interpretation and my reading or it's and physically and mentally, it's you know, we talk about karate being spiritual. It's, my God, in the head. Yes. I don't know how many times. I'm a very physical person. Like, to understand things, I need to feel it. I'm very kinesthetic. I need to touch and feel. But once I've done that, I need to go back. Oftentimes I'll think and analyze, and sometimes too much. When I was competing, it was too much analyzing. It was like it was destroying my mon abandonnement, my letting go, because you're so much in your head and you're crisping up. But karate is about now is about a tree that's flowing with the wind and not just resisting. My roots are there, and I will always remember my roots. Always remember my roots. Mm-hmm. It's like the family. You know, I will always remember where I come from, who my parents are, And it's the same thing in karate. I will always be grateful, even for my first sensei. I mean, he didn't know. He's like a parent who didn't know how to raise his children. He can be whatever he is today. I take the positive that's been given to me at the beginning. It was hard. It was hard training. And I think that just made me a solid person physically. And I progressed. And with Cancha Robertson, it's understanding. Why am I doing this? And how to do this? And this is better than that. I don't know if I should tell you the story of when I got my black belt. That's a really good story.
Well, that's up to you, but I would love to hear it. So
you would, because I don't know, maybe with all that I've done, I mean, and these teachers have done, today we'd probably go to jail, because back then it was a hit in the head, and I'll just to say that when I earned my black belt, I walked in the dojo and in the NDG dojo. The NDG dojo had a big reputation, good fighters in Montreal, and he didn't want to mess with us. But I walked in, I had my belt, the ears are sticking up like this, and Cancha Robertson grabs me by the hair and throws me on the floor. He says, "You're not competing for a medal now. You're being attacked on the street." So, and I remember there were a few people in the class, and he was basically cleaning the floor with, and he said, "Well, now do something." So I'm on the floor. He's got me by the hair and said, "So what do you do? Do you feel any pain?" I said, "Of course." So he had me by the hair, so I had to, protect and grab his hands so did that, and then I still couldn't get out. And he said, "You got to get out." I must have stayed there on the floor for 5-10 minutes until I kicked him right in the good place, and he let me go. And that's what he was waiting for. But that's the kind of lessons we had back then. I have many more, but I'll leave it to that. So what I'm saying is that some of us could have gone to jail many times, because today we can't do that anymore. And it's good and it's not, because I don't think that we need to pressure people to make them feel belittled. That's not the point. But I'm not sure that people are as strong physically and mentally because we don't challenge ourselves as much. But then today I say, instead of hurting each other, go and hit the bag. Hit the bag, hit the makiwara. You got to hit something. If you don't feel anything, how do you know? It's nice to have a black belt, but if we can't defend ourselves or walk away from trouble, what's the use of being a black belt? Yeah, so that's my thinking.
Yeah, there's also something therapeutic about striking something too, right? That's, like the energy that you release into the bag or into the pads or whatever is, yeah.
Well, my good feeling is doing that pro fight in boxing and giving that gyakutsuki and folding the person in front of me, folding them in half and on the butt. So you say, "Oh, that punch was really, my gyakutsuki was really efficient." She went half and sit on the floor. You say, "Okay, that really works." And I remember doing one time, yeah, it's a good feeling. It's not a good feeling if you're being it done to you, because it happened to me when I did my fourth dan. Some guy kicked me a yokogiri. It had twice my size. They wanted me teach me a lesson, and I did like a crevette, like a shrimp. I folded in half. I rolled back. I got back up. They said, "Okay, no, that's done." So, but it is to feel. We don't feel anymore. I'm sorry. It's I felt maybe too much, but we need to feel a little. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So following up on the question I just asked you about, what's kept you involved, and your answer was, if I could paraphrase, it's about personal development, like your physical development, your mental, spiritual, that kind of thing. These are things that would be appealing to, you would think, to anyone, regardless of gender or race or whichever. why do you think there are relatively few women involved in the martial arts at a senior level? Like I've had the privilege of interviewing Sensei Norma Foster, who's been, is one of the leading women in the world, I would think, in Wado-Ryu. And, there's a number of excellent, senior karateka that are women that have been training for a number of years, but relative to the number of men, it's very, very small. And I'm curious as to why do you think that is the case? Why are there not as many women doing this at the senior level as compared to men?
Thank you for the question. I think that because women have children, some of them don't pursue it after pregnancy because it's fighting, because of the values. We were very, very lucky to have one person in our group who opened a school just for women. And I think technically at an early stage, women are better than men. But over a long period of time, I've seen some girls, and it happens so often, like when they're 6, 8, 10, up to puberty, up to 12, they are so strong, confident. And I don't know, they hit puberty and it's not the same person anymore. They don't like to get hit. I don't know. It's, did I go through that? I started.
You started when you were 16 or so, right? So
yeah. So I had just, because I remember there was 1 year, I think when I was 14, around there, I did nothing for a year, like no sports. And I was involved in every sport there was in high school: badminton, basketball, volleyball. I was even captain of the volleyball. I was one of the smallest team member. I'm sorry, there's a dog barking. I don't know if you can hear it.
That's fine. You can bring him in if you want.
So I was talking about girls, and I think when that there's an age that's like that's for everybody. We go through cycles, but for women, I don't know, when they become teens, it seems to be an age where, and I think that's even for boys, because I've seen many students, male, that when they hit teens, it's where, and they must be devastated with this pandemic, because it's the age where you need friends, you need to be accepted, you need to, so they're probably more affected than all of us put together with this pandemic, and it's a time for them. So I think many of the girls that joined our all women's club to be together. I mean, we used to do, even I remember Renee Cancho's daughter, Renee Robertson. She was an early, she was a young adult, and she was in charge of a program, the competition program. It was all teens, and they would do demos at the malls, but they would always get together on Friday night. So it was like, it's not just about the sport, it's about being together and having fun together. So karate for youngsters, they need to have fun. They need to be together. And then you reach, their early 20s, and then women, well, you're thinking of children. I mean, I've seen it's demanding to keep training when you're pregnant, and you can't fight if you're pregnant. And then you have the children, even the men, when their wives have children, they disappear because they have to have the chores linked to. So, I mean, it's the priority that either you do it or you don't. Is it your passion? Is it not? And, life is full of obstacles, and you make choices. In my case, I've wanted to quit many times because this is hurting, or this is too much, or, my life, and then you get sick, I don't know. And then for some reason, now today I know, like even with the pandemic, if I didn't have my karate, I'd be so depressed, so out to lunch. my karate is what keeps me sane. So when it doesn't go well, it's, doing the katas is the meditation. It's the breathing. I mean, I said, okay, I'm going to start meditating. I took some online courses. I went with a group. Man, I can do my katas and do that breathing. It's the same friggin' thing. It's not. No, so excuse me, I shouldn't say it like that. It's not the same thing, but this might be a better form of meditation for me, having the movements while I'm doing my breathing.
Yeah.
So
if you're more of a physical person, if you're more of somebody who needs to be active, that might be better than sitting still and doing that. I'm the same way.
It's well said, because I remember when I tried and sitting there, my mind would just go everywhere. Come on, like, get back in here. Just go again. So yeah, doing sanshin with the breathing really helped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah. What would you say is your proudest moments in the martial arts or the martial sports too? I guess martial arts, because boxing, you can call it an art or a science. But do you have a proudest achievement or most prominent kind of realization through your training or through your experiences?
If it's I'm the type of person who always it's a group thing. Mm-hmm. But if we go back to just me, what really, really sticks with me and is something I didn't think I was able to do. I remember doing my third Dan test. And at the end of the test, Cantor Robertson pulled out the three wooden boards. And I had to go through, not 1, 2, 3, the three together.
Three together, yeah.
Three together. And remember, I was only 110 pounds. I remember my mother was there, and that's why I'm very proud of that as well. And my students were there. Some of my students were there. And I remember there were 6 men holding the boards, because holding is just as important as hitting. You figure that out with time.
Yep.
So I went in, I said, okay, we are taught that, which is normal. If you hit hard on hard, it hurts. So, and if you want to do a devastating blow to someone, same thing, hard on soft or soft on hard. Mm-hmm. So for the boards, I said, okay, I'm going to go with the side of, this nice muscle is good. It's not a bone, so I'll be good. So I went in with Mawashi MP. I bounced into it once. I bounced into it twice. And I went in the third time and I went right through the boards. And I remember everybody screaming, and even myself, and my arm was black and blue and purple and green for a week after. And I found out after, we still do breaking boards when we have exams and, high ranks. You have to be young. I don't think I'm sure I wouldn't do that today, but it's mind over matter. Like I said before, today we're a little soft. I wasn't at the time. I know when I did this, I would have broken my arm, because I know, 20 years ago, even, I'd say up to about 2005, 2007, I broke my knee. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm not so strong. And I was training and realizing that I'm not listening to my body. My mind is stronger than my body. Mm-hmm. And I remember actually some people saying, man, if you were a person of 200 pounds, you would be really something else. Because I remember doing bunkais lined up in Ottawa with Harvey Brown and Germain Bisson and all these guys. And they just whip me around and say, she's nuts. And I thought myself I was nuts. So I went through that board, and I know today my mind is stronger than my body. So today I try to be softer. It's you gotta go with the flow, and I see people that are, they get hip replacements, they get and elbows and ligaments, and this is because we push ourselves, and we push ourselves too much. Our body can only take so much. So I hope I'm smarter today. When it hurts, before we used to say, when there's no pain, no gain. I don't believe in that anymore. So a good moment for me was breaking through those 3 boards and realizing that my mind is really stronger than who I am physically.
Yeah. That's a neat story. You don't see much breaking as part of the grading anymore, I guess.
One of my students, who's like one of my children, I used to go to competitions with him, is a Russian Mitsis boy. He came to me, he was 10 years old. He's in his 30s today with 2 children. And I'm hoping it's like been 5 years, I want him to test for his sandan. But when he was 15, well, I'll say 2 stories. When he was 12, 13, he's fighting me, because when I was in my 30s, I used to fight all the kids all the time. Okay, fight. He comes in and pops me in the mouth and makes me bleed. I say nothing. We get back on the line, and I pop him and I make him bleed. I said, "You break my face, I break your face." And that's how we used to be, 20 years ago. And to this day, I'm like his second mom. And he came into the dojo. Even like 5 years ago, he was still trying to compete and stuff, and would be very careful. If I was on the wall receiving his attacks, he was very careful. And what was the other story I wanted to tell you? We're talking about
breaking boards and so on as part of the training.
Well, this kid, the Saint Henri is his name, who's a man now. When he was 15, he was so good. He was testing for his first dan, his first dan, and we had him do a spinning mawari uramawashi, so spin, jump, uramawashi, and breaking the board. And he didn't know that he could do that. And when we still have the video, and when he saw it, he said, "I never thought I could do that." After, it's like, I did this. So the breaking board sometimes, like just with the punch or a kick, and with the youngsters, they realize like how good they are. So, but you can't do that with everyone, because if this is someone who's not inclined to have the mind over the body, well, might not be a positive experience. It needs to be a positive experience.
In your opinion, what does a shodan mean to you? First degree black belt.
Good question.
Significance of it. Sorry?
It's a good question. I like it. Becoming a black belt is reaching one goal, to realize that you're back on the starting point. But I think it's a great feeling for me. Like I said, I wanted to reach second dan. So when I reach, it's you've been working years and years to reach that point. Some people reach it in 5 years now. I mean, it took me 8 years. I never held anyone back because it took me 8 years. But I think the majority is, 5-7 years to reach a black belt. And some people just want to reach that and quit. I don't understand that. That's the sad story. When you realize, okay, and even today, the more I'm involved, the more I realize I know so little. I mean, I know a lot, but I mean, look around. Who am I? Look at these people that you've already interviewed that have 50 years, 60 years behind their career.
So Shodan's a new beginning.
New beginning.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of bad habits to remove. To fix. Hopefully not.
So the follow-up that I normally do to this question is do you think there should be a minimum age before that somebody can achieve that rank?
Yes, definitely. I've seen very few reach a black belt at 12 years old. Renee Robertson was one of the exceptions. Why? Probably because, she grew up in the dojo. I remember Kancho bringing her. She was in her in her crib. Very strong, very dedicated. But cognitively and strength-wise, it might be very good. But it's if something, it's technically maybe you're there. But a black belt is you're supposed to be able to defend yourself and think, and I don't know, some kids 12 years old maybe there, but under 14 very rare. And even at 14 I think it's more of a technical than anything else. I don't understand those they show videos on YouTube now of like 10-year-olds. They're great doing katas, screaming and key eyes and great posture. Put them in a situation. I don't know. Are they going to do well? I don't know.
I guess it comes down to the philosophy as to whether it's, some treat it as a rite of passage, from child to adult kind of thing. And others look at it as this is a measure of your technical abilities. And while they might be related, they're two different things.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm always curious as to what people's thoughts are on. I don't think there's a correct answer to it.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to get the opinions of others about that.
But it does take a long time to get a black belt for a child, for I should say someone junior. So it's interesting to have half grades just to keep them motivated, because that objective is important. To me, a grade, even if you're 30 years old, it's a competition against yourself. It's having placed that objective, and this is what I need to do to get there. And it's you need to have an objective to reach it and a commitment to something.
So karate is supposed to be a part of the next Olympic Games. It's been postponed in 2020. There's still some debate, though it looks like it's going to go ahead this year in the Tokyo Olympics. And I'm just curious about your thoughts on Olympic karate, but sport karate in general. And is it a good thing for the art? Is it something that will create issues? Like, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about it.
Karate in the Olympics, I'm for it. I'm all for it. If judo's there, eskrime is there, fencing is there, taekwondo is there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, taekwondo people were better than you. No, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say this. I'm happy that we're making it to the Olympics. And look, taekwondo, there are so many people now involved, is because of the Olympics. It's a window of visibility. And I truly believe that the youngsters need to compete, even if it's at kata, because it's standing there and it's showing your posture, your confidence, and it's a way of if you're, there's some people, as soon as they fail, they retreat. Well, life is about succeeding, sometimes not so much. So let's try it. Maybe you're not first. I was second and third so many times, but that my goal was to always be better and be better. So I think for children, they need to try it somehow. And I've seen it with some kids, they cry. The parent wants the kid to try. You go beside them, they try it, whatever. Going back to Olympics, I think the best of them are there. it made our sport, well, there's only it's like in any sport. How many people make it to the Olympics? How many people make it there? I mean, they're an open window for us to strive at something. Mm-hmm. And karate, there's sports karate, there's traditional karate, there's bunkai karate, there's my karate, there's your karate. And the only reason we didn't friggin' make it in the Olympics is because we can't agree on a set of rules for everyone. We do have styles, I understand that, and that should be there, but that shouldn't stop us from having a set of rules for competition. And I even attended with one of my students. I didn't tell you, I did some kickboxing for a while. In 1995, I did Iaido. I was a brown belt. I did kickboxing. I was going to the Soke Cup. I said, okay, I got to recenter myself. And I said, I'm not trying kendo because if I try it, I'll probably get hooked into it. All this to say, I had a student that went to a tournament, semi-contact. I don't understand, like, how you can kick each other in the head. That's just like Taekwondo. Kick each other in the head, knock each other with their feet, but you're not allowed to hit each other with your hands. I just don't get it. Like, so we have, different set of rules, and we finally have one set of rules that was allowed at the Olympics, but it's being destroyed, and now we're not going to be in there at 2024 when the French are so good. France is good. I mean, anyways, I had two students that did the Worlds in 2012. 2018, I had my guy who was there for was listed for the next Olympics, Patrice Boilly-Martineau. I'm very, he was my, how do you call him? Like my horse, mon poulain, like he drove my whole competition team up, him and Marianne. And so I have a group that compete. I think youngsters need to compete, but it needs not to be mixed up with 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. I hope that when I'm 80 years old, I can still do this. I can still do my kata. I'm still kicking to the head. Woo! Okay, I'm going to be 60 years old soon. Okay, I'm going to keep on friggin' lifting my leg to the head until I cannot do that. But I will be careful because I don't want to injure myself. And it's the traditional karate of being so rigid. The kata is like, how can I explain this? The fibers, the muscle fibers you're using are not the same. It's isometric versus, and personally, I think we need to have some tension, but we need to have also looseness. So that's why I believe kata and kumite techniques, not necessarily because I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to get hit, but kumite techniques plus the katas keep you well balanced. There's the good word for it. So we need it. And when you look at them at the Olympics doing the bunkais and the katas, it's amazing what they can do. Amazing. Sandra Sanchez, I'm watching her do her training. Oh my God, the Japanese woman as well. Oh, they're incredible. And
they're athletes for sure.
Yes. And one is closed abilities. So there's no thinking. It's always the same thing versus the open abilities. It's reacting to, the fighting is open abilities is reacting. That's why I said, can a 12-year-old think of what I should do with an open situation here? This man arrived, there's no lighting, he's got a knife, he wants to grab me. And like I said, the punching and the kicking, I mean, you make a mistake in karate because it's a non-contact, there is contact to the body. I mean, when you get punched, you feel it. I'm sorry. Those who don't feel it, you got a problem. Or maybe you're really just very, very toned. But body, okay. We had a kid, 14 years old, that got kicked one time. He just turned 18. And that's the hardest transition for the youngsters that compete. is like that 17, 18 transitioning with the 18s that are mature and physically there, strong. And I remember one kid, like he just turned 18 and he got kicked. He had internal bleeding from a kick. I mean, you don't want that. In karate, it's supposed to be non-contact, but when there's an accident, I mean, I had an accident. I didn't block, the kick came and my nose went sideways, broken in two places. I didn't have time to react. It kept coming this way. I was doing the same thing. Oops, the other way, no reaction. Boom, nose is gone. So that's what happens. How fast it is in the Olympics is incredible. And I love it. Sweeps. Okay, they had the rules with two hands. No, it's not over the hips so that, you don't want to cause. It's beautiful. It's well thought. So yes, we should have it. But it's not the end of it. The real fighting is understanding. So the Olympics is the physical ability. Yes, there is a mental, there's the stress, there's the discipline, the courage, all is there. But then bring it back home, and how is this going to work if I'm being attacked on the street by two people, or in a situation where I need to react? I'm at the bank and someone has got a gun in his pocket, but you don't know if it's a gun, it's just a hand. What do? I'll just take my money and I'm going to run.
So if you look back on your 40 plus year career in the martial arts, this is a two-part question. So if you look back on your martial arts career, if you could do it over again, is there anything that you would do differently? Or here's the second part, or is there something that you know now that you wish that you knew sooner? So you can answer either both of them or one or the other. I'll leave that to you to decide.
Wow. That's a really, really, and I should have known that you were going to ask that, because you asked everybody. I don't know. Destiny is destiny. So I've had my ups and downs. And I met Cancho Robertson when I did. I had my first teacher when I did. I've learned one thing. We're all human. Even myself. I mean, it's not because I'm a sixth dan that I'm your essence as a human is your essence. You're a good person, or you're a selfish person. How else can I put it? What I mean by that is I wouldn't change anything for me personally, because that was my destiny. And of course, there's a lot of things that I know now that I wish I would have known, but that was my destiny. And what I do know now is that not to take life for granted, and that we have choices in life, and we also have the choice to change that first choice. Life is, we plan, and it's made to be changed. There's ups and downs. We all have our issues, and that, when I'm talking about we have our human essence, is that in my early days, I used to put people on pedestals, but we're all human. In the end, the queen is sitting on her seat here, but she's still a human. That's what I mean by you may be, you're a grandmaster. Oh, Sensei is such a kind person. So I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. So even as I progress, one day I'm good, and one day I make mistakes. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that what goes for me goes for the others. And what I try to do to others, I want to do to others what I want to be done to me. And it doesn't matter what certificate, what grade you hold, and you do not request, you cannot request respect from others. It is earned. And some people do not understand that, unfortunately.
I think that's a profound,
sorry.
No, it's a profound bit of wisdom. I think that I think I take to heart personally. So thank you for that. You know, we've covered a lot during our conversation, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I've been looking forward to this chat for a while. So, and I wasn't disappointed. That's for certain. Is there anything that you wanted to cover off or add that we haven't already discussed? Like, you know, where you can be found, where your school's located, that kind of thing, or?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me. This is a privilege and an honor to have been interviewed by you and to share my life story. This is I'm a student of Yoshukan, but you can find me under ASM, which is Académie Sportive de Montréal. We have camps with Cancha Robertson when we can. We're supposed to have one here in Montreal in August. I'm Sensei Peter Giffen. If he comes to Montreal with Sakamoto, I'll have him come to my dojo. Dimitrich Sensei. If you have camps in Montreal and you wish to stay with me, you can. Well, not everybody, but this is for my my long time friends. I have friends in Gaspésie as well, and they have a ranch and horses, and it's terrific. So thank you again for having me, and let's be good to each other.
Indeed, and yeah, no, thank you again for agreeing to participate in this. It's you know, again, really genuinely enjoyed our discussion, and I know for a fact others will as well. There was a lot of interest in I guess this conversation, you know, before it happened. So I expect it might generate some conversations as well amongst some other people. So again, really appreciate your time and your openness to share your experiences, and you know, thank you again for being a part of this.
Thank you.